best piece of advice is around time. Time can either be time is a constant, right? You can't mess with time. Leave it to
Mm.
Elon Musk and Bezos to mess with space, but you still no one can really mess with time.
Till you change the laws of physics, we're stuck with them.
Exactly, which I won't hold my breath, but maybe in our lifetimes. Um, and with time is, again, it's for you or against you. When you're first starting out, it's really important that you don't have time being against you. And the thought
Mm.
is, as a side hustle, nights and weekends, you have a salary, you have your health insurance being taken care of you. But as soon as you leave your job to focus on this hustle, and that hustle isn't to the point where it's actually paying your salary or paying for what you need, then time becomes against you, right? So
Mm.
really, really be smart about when you make that decision to go full time with a project, how you want to approach it.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of the Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that has grown several startups and 7 to 8 figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where we focus on helping startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com and feel free to grab some time to chat. Now, today we have a great guest on the podcast, Jesse Lakes, and this is a quick introduction. Jesse graduated from college 14 years ago, was built a series of websites that was, I think, in music that was associated with extreme sports films and those type of things. Was earning affiliate revenue. I think it was also a whitewater guide, if whitewater rafting guide, if I
Yep.
remember right. And then noticed much of his traffic on his website was international, and so kind of made a bit of a pivot there that he'll get into. Wrote a book about some of the solutions. Apple got mad. They flagged him a few times, then decided rather than deal with them, they just hire him. And then after doing that for a period of time, decided to kind of go back on his own and do what you're doing now. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Jesse.
So excited to be here. Thank you.
So I gave kind of the quick 30-second run through of your journey, which never does it justice. So maybe take us back to graduating from college, starting to do your whitewater rafting, your website, and let's have a good conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, the good old days, right? Done with college, done with structured life, and it's a new adventure.
Hmm.
So moved from Western Montana to Colorado. Did a couple different odd jobs, but yeah, as you mentioned, kind of fell into this whitewater rafting thing. I'd always been a big fan of whitewater, extreme sports in general, a lot of snowboarding growing up, etc. But yeah, it was
Hmm.
kind of led to this endless summer lifestyle, which worked out really well in my 20s. I spent my summers in Colorado working on the Cache La Puta River up in northern Colorado. And then my winters would go down to Costa Rica and live in this little town called Turrialba and work on the Macquarie River and worked for this adventure travel company that would kind of take me all around that amazing country. And
Hmm.
it was a great lifestyle. But ultimately, I was a bit of an entrepreneur at heart and had this little side project. So again, extreme sports were an important part of my upbringing. Loved
Hmm.
music and tried to combine those into these websites that took these soundtracks from extreme sports films and linked up the different songs to links to iTunes and Amazon. Of course, those links were affiliate links, so I could monetize the site and reward my time and passion put into it.
Hmm.
And those websites really kind of caught on. Seems that there's some great affinity between skiers and snowboarders and surfers and these films and the music in those films. So I got really kind of lucky to stumble upon that and had this great hockey stick growth in traffic, which was awesome. That's what everyone wants. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, the revenue just wasn't following the same path. The revenue was really kind of linear. And that was a bit of a frustration for sure. Led to numerous head scratching moments, but finally kind of had my aha moment when I realized, as you mentioned, that the websites had evolved internationally. Turns out
Hmm.
there's skiers and snowboarders and surfers all over the world that love these same videos. In my nativity, I was only linking to the US iTunes store and the Amazon.com store to sell this music. So I was
Hmm.
essentially serving up broken links to this mass majority of my audience that was now outside the US. They were essentially getting a broken link. It was a dead end buying experience. So aha was realizing that was happening. The oh no was just realizing that was why I was missing on the money. And from that moment, kind of really started to think about how a link should be dynamic, how it should be smart, how these shoppers in other parts of the world should be able to get to that same music that their brethren here in the US were able to enjoy.
Hmm.
Um, so pinged my college roommate who happened to be a engineer at Microsoft at this point and said, hey, can we make a link that's dynamic that can kind of change based off of where someone's located? And it turns out that that's not too hard of a challenge at its face, but there's obviously lots of intricacies, which is why we're still in business, a decade later.
Mm.
So focused on that problem for quite some
So,
time.
so maybe just as a quick dive in or a question or follow up question to that. So you're doing this is, I assume, but I won't assume, is a kind of a side hustle, right? In the sense that you're doing the whitewater rafting guide as a kind of a full time gig, and then the affiliate revenue is kind of the side hustle or side revenue that is passive income, so to speak. That you enjoy it, you're passionate about it, and you might as well earn a little bit of money. So
Bingo.
as you were to reach out to the college roommate or the person that's working at Microsoft now, was that just kind of, hey, just wanted to make my side hustle a little bit better, or was it, hey, I'm going to make more of a business out of this, or I think I can make, if all of it, I can make more money internationally, or kind of, was that more of just a passion project or side project, or was it more of, no, we're actually going to start to turn this into a business?
It evolved through that whole scale. It was,
Mm,
really, okay, let's just make this easier. Let's just make this work. I'm leaving money on the table. How do I fix that? Then we started diving into it. I started kind of opening my eyes to realize that I was not the only one with this problem. It was not unique in any means.
mm,
So after working on this a bit and getting a working prototype, we thought, what if we kind of push this forward?
mm,
And at that same time, I was writing this book. Again, iTunes affiliate program, Amazon affiliate program. The iTunes affiliate program one was making me more money, and that was exciting. But the iTunes affiliate program was really challenging to use. It was a great program, but there was just really no documentation. So
mm,
I needed to put together this documentation to pass to my friends so we could build the tools that would use it. At the same time, I ended up with this massive set of notes and binders, and got the encouragement from another friend who's now our CMO to actually just spend some time and organize those thoughts and notes and write a book about it. So spent some time, only spent a little bit of time that winter in Costa Rica, spent the rest of the time snowboarding and writing this book.
mm,
Um, and just as I was about ready to publish it, I sent it off a couple copies to some people I found on LinkedIn. One in particular was this woman that actually worked at iTunes. And I said, hey, check this out. I think you'll appreciate this. You have got an amazing program, but the documentation's lacking. I think this will fill that gap.
mm.
So I'd always been an Apple fanboy. I drank that Kool-Aid a long time ago. Um, so I was hoping for a positive response, and lo and behold, a cease and desist came back. And spent the whole day. I had to go raft for the day, so got the email in the morning. Didn't have time to respond.
Mm,
Was scared all day. I was working my day job, out of cell reception, out of connection, out on the river. Came back,
mm,
was able to connect this woman. We had this conversation, hopped on the phone. First 30 seconds, very civil and polite. And the next 45 minutes was a lot of screaming back and forth. Who was I, this person they'd never heard of before? How could I possibly know anything about the affiliate program? Must all be lies.
mm.
Publishing this information is only going to make her life and the program much more challenging. I couldn't do it. There's no way they could let us do it, so forth and so on. So we got to the end of this and agreed that I was not going to publish the book until they'd had some time to review it. And that was win-win. I was in no real big hurry, and actually having the person that was in charge of the affiliate program review my book was perfect. So sent her off a copy of the book, or gave her the password to unlock the book, and then didn't hear from her for a few weeks. And finally got word back. And of 160 pages, 60,000 words, there were one typo. I was using someone's email address that I probably shouldn't, and I flip-flopped one of the very minor aspects of the program.
Mm.
So at that point, the conversation drastically churned. Hey, what are you doing? Why are you a raft guide? Do you want to come work for us? And that was, yes, I would love to. Again, Apple fanboy, go to the mothership, work on the affiliate program. This is so perfect. So put
So,
everything.
but the intent wasn't to really get a job. There was just, hey, I've already done all this research. We've already do it. I like your product. You'd probably find this information be helpful. Here you go, kind of a thing. And they found it helpful enough after going through it that they actually offered you a job. Is that about a fair summary?
Exactly. Came from that fanboy mentality. Love what's going on. I want to do something to prop this up. So started off as a contractor. My first kind of kickoff day, I was again kind of living in Colorado at that point. Kind of now I was working working for Apple as a contractor. Wasn't exactly an employee, but
Mm,
so kind of put the other stuff to the side and focused on this. Flew down to Cupertino to have my first day. spent a handful of days down there just kind of getting onboarded. And it was about the last day before I was leaving. One of the engineers mistakenly pushed out a change to the affiliate program and essentially broke it.
Mm,
So I came in knowing there were some challenges with the affiliate program, but it worked well to, that into that week, the program was fundamentally broken.
mm,
So spent the next nearly a month trying to get to the bottom of that. And it was this crazy digging journey to really kind of understand what's going on. Was able to work with a lot of the engineers to kind of learn more. It was a really trial by fire, and we got to the bottom of it. But during that time, enough partners had complained to the head of Apple that this is or head of iTunes at that point, Eddie Q, that this wasn't cool.
mm,
So he made the mandate that they needed someone more technical than the woman that was managing, who does an amazing job. She's awesome. I absolutely love her. She's been great to work with. 45 minutes of yelling back and forth is the only time in all my years of knowing her that that's ever happened. But
mm.
so they created this role, global program manager, and there was a very short list of who should take it. And luckily, I was there. So I went from contractor to employee fairly quickly. Moved down moved from Colorado to California, moved to the Bay Area, traded my flip flops for a cubicle and commute, and couldn't have been happier. It was pretty crazy. So spent a lot of time in the next couple of years.
One question on, was it a mental? I mean, that's a fairly good or big shift from going from whitewater rafting, extreme sports enthusiasts, and those type of things to now I'm going to have an office job, sit at a desk, and work a 9 to 5, so to speak. Was that transition easy? Was it a difficult, or was it a change of mentality, or kind of how did that go for you?
It definitely was a change of mentality. I knew I was kind of from all my friends, a lot of my friends are have taken kind of the traditional path and been very successful with getting a good job, getting a real job out of college and following that. So I knew I was kind of odd man out there. I knew it was only a matter of time where I needed to stop playing and start working. So it seemed like it was time to stop being a Peter Pan and to finally grow up. But Bay Area, I was living in Cupertino. Santa Cruz is right over the mountains. Being able to surf multiple times, during the week in the afternoons. There's amazing mountain biking. It was not as much of a transition as one might. There's some great extreme sports just right around the corner there. So it was definitely different. With a cubicle commute were the two big differences. It was amazing working. I love raft guides, big hearts, not always the sharpest tools in the shed. Working at Apple, just being surrounded by people that are so much smarter than you, was just this crazy, awesome experience to just, every conversation you're learning something great instead of just, rehashing the same glory stories with your raft guide friends. I love them. Don't get me wrong, but very different work environment. So it was definitely a transition, but I was ready for it. It was time to jump into that.
So,
and it was
so you jump into that and you do that. I think it was for 2 or 3 years you worked for Apple. Is that right?
just about 2 years. Yeah. Just over 2 years.
So then how did you and then I think you transitioned out of Apple. So how did that go? Was you loved it, enjoyed the job, and what made kind of that shift or kind of moved you forward to where you're at today?
Yeah. Apple, again, great people, amazing job. But one of the things, again, I came in with this book about the affiliate program where I pointed out a lot of challenges and some solutions, and I was being paid to kind of fix these solutions. But one of the things that I saw is they were paying me very well to make one of these fundamental problems worse. And that was what we now call geofragmentation, the whole idea that different affiliate programs, different storefronts, they're all separate. These artists, amazing artists, Lady Gaga, J Lo, etc., have worldwide audiences, so they need links that work internationally. And I brought that problem to everyone's attention, but it wasn't a hair on fire problem for them. They wanted to continue to expand iTunes, and they were very much on track. So we took while I was there, they paid me well to triple the size of the affiliate program, triple the size of this problem. At the same time, I saw Amazon was also doing this exact same thing. So, I knew that, my best friend had this, project that we worked on before that solved this problem. And I saw it was only being made worse, not only for iTunes, but Amazon, et cetera. So again, Apple was amazing. But I'm an entrepreneur at heart. One of the things that, again, was a very important project, but we spent about 6 months working on one project where the net result was these badges that only looked slightly different than where we started. And that was a little frustrating for me. As an entrepreneur, feedback cycles are really important. Having that feedback loop where I can work hard on something and see the results shortly afterwards, I'm addicted to that. That gives me the adrenaline rush these days. So I love to work hard when I can see my results. When I work hard for 6 months and barely see any change, that was that was a little disheartening.
Mm.
And again, there was other things, yeah, that made the job absolutely amazing. But that was kind of the realization that I'm not a corporate person at heart. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So left on great terms, was able to help, find and hire my replacement, and had this great conversation relationship, even after leaving. But yeah, in
Mm.
Into February 2012, said goodbye, and then the next day, came back into the office without my badge, and asked to have a meeting to talk about this problem they've got and how I could build a solution for them. And it was really great to have these relationships again that I'd worked hard to help solve, but they were now interested in seeing what I could do to help solve this problem, because again, it wasn't an engineering level problem for Apple, but they knew it was a problem because I've been shouting about it for 2 years.
Mm.
And that was kind of the beginning of this. It was initially called GeoRiot before we rebranded to Genius Link, but that was kind of the initial real. This is a business. Let's see if we can get Apple on board and see where we can go from there.
So now you transition out of Apple, and that was, you said, 2012,
Mhm.
2013. And so have you been doing the business, growing it ever since? Or, when you moved out of Apple, did you do anything else, explore anything else, or just, hey, we've got this idea, now let's build a business around it?
Exactly. We've got this idea. We had an MVP that was working fine.
Hmm.
Apple knows it's a problem. We see it's a bigger problem. Let's run with this. So 2012, myself, and then my fiance at the time. So she was my girlfriend in Colorado. She came with me to California. She also got a job at Apple. She didn't, as much as I loved my manager and still really respect her, she did not have the best working relationship with her manager. So she was at Apple
Hmm.
for, I think, a little over a year, and said, I'm done. So she was our kind of first employee. So her and I moved back to the East Coast. Her parents have a beach house, in Bethesda, or sorry, Bethany Beach. Uh, why am I mixing up names now? So we went there, quiet beach house. This is in the winter,
Hmm.
and just put our heads down and really kind of focused on this project. We kind of made it our own little incubator. The other founder, his name's Jesse as well. So Jesse P. He was still at Microsoft, but we had the plans that if we could hit certain thresholds within that, spring, summer, that he would leave his job in the fall and join us full time for the next year. And we did it. It was kind of this crazy adventure, but we slowly itched up and hit those milestones.
So now one question. So you guys have been doing it for a while, but when you explain the issue, it makes sense. Yeah, I get it. On the other hand, it's not one that I would have necessarily thought of, or it's not one that people are just saying, "Oh, this is a problem that needs to be solved." It's not one that comes directly to mind. And so, as you're trying to build a business around that, how did you find the market, or create the market, or find the people that would be actually willing to use your service? And kind of, how did you dive into that? Was it leveraging the Apple contacts you had? Was it, hey, I have a whole bunch of people that I know are in this industry and I'll reach out to them? Was it organic growth, or kind of how did you build a business around the problem you'd solved?
Very slowly. It was, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's an education challenge.
Hmm.
Most people don't realize this is a problem. Once they realized it's a problem, we were really one of the only solutions. So that getting to people to realize that their links were broken, was that huge marketing thing that we had to get through. And
Hmm.
once we did, again, it was relatively easy to sell after that. So a lot of it was just education in various manners, direct education, reaching out to websites saying, hey, your links are broken, or inside forums, talking about different affiliate programs, kind of letting people know that this is going on, giving examples, etc. So
Hmm.
it was a very slow process. I worked on one of the greatest marketing teams in the world. I am not a great marketer myself. I have lots to learn. So that was a really big challenge for me to kind of lead those efforts. Shannon, my wife, Jesse, the CTO, the other partner, they were building amazing tools, and it was really on me to kind of do the business development, do the operations, and move the business forward.
Hmm.
Um, and that was challenging. It was fun. Again, you send a great email, someone replies and they learn something, you move forward, or you learn that that's actually way too long of an email and you should send way more succinct, or,
Hmm.
approach the subject very differently. So learned a ton, but it was a very slow process.
Now, one last question. And I have lots of questions that I'm sure we'll never get all
Hopefully that's not the last one.
but I always say one last question that I'm like, I really should stop saying that, because it's usually not my last question. But so as early on as you're getting a business up and going, you're creating those connections, you're figuring out how to market, you're figuring out who to sell it to, how to sell it, everything else. How did you support yourself in the sense that, where if you're diving all in, you're saying, hey, I got this great idea, I think it'll work. It usually, and it sounds like the same with you, takes a bit of momentum to get things going or building. It's not just overnight you have a big client base and they're all paying you a whole bunch of money to use your service. And so during those early stages, as you're starting to build a company, figuring out the marketplace, were you working side jobs? Did you have savings that you saved up that you could live off for a period of time? Did you move back into the parents' basement? All of the above, or how did you or get by yourself that time in order to build a business?
Yeah, so time is an important aspect here. So again, the short answer is the first year we agreed to live off of our savings and see what we could do. But living off of savings wasn't, again, as a raft guide, I some years didn't make more than the poverty line, whatever that is, $10,000, $12,000 a year. So I was really good at living frugally, really good at living frugally. So I went to Apple. It was, Apple paid, again, incredibly well. So I was able to put, both Chan and I were able to put a lot of money into savings. It was also during that period where Apple stock was just kind of on fire, and we maxed out the paychecks to get the stock options, etc. So got really fortunate in that as well. So we were in a good financial position. And then again, when we left, we went to her parents' beach house. I wasn't living with her parents, but it was close enough. They would come visit, to really
That's
minimize.
even better. Then you get to live with the parents or live off the parents, but you don't have to deal, or you can still keep a good relationship with them. So that's a great way to do it.
Exactly. So did that for, I think, 4 or 5 months, and then went and lived with my parents for a few months during the summer back in Montana. At that point, it was really starting to make sense that this was happening. So shortly afterwards, we instituted a thing where each founder would get 10% of what we made the previous month, and that actually ended up being enough money to live off of. So being able to bootstrap, kind of deferring, being able to take some revenue at first, and then having that revenue come through. We were super fortunate there. So when the other Jesse left, he was able to go transition from one salary to another salary. It wasn't the same salary by any means, but at least it was a salary.
And how long, give us an idea, how long did it take to get to the point in the business that you were able to sustain it, so to speak, or, that you're saying, okay, we no longer have to live off of savings, or we're reducing that, what was that time frame, or how long did it kind of take to get through that?
Probably a solid year.
Mm.
Yeah, we gave ourselves a year, and we took from it a little bit earlier than we needed to, but it was also, we were super naive. Again, coming from Apple, Microsoft had expectations of what a salary should look like, and knew that this is what we needed as a bare minimum to cover the mortgage, cover the other aspects. So a year, plus or minus.
Okay, no, and that makes perfect sense. So now last question. I got to stop saying that because it's different. Last question. So take us forward to today. So it took you a year. You built, you got it to where it was profitable. You continue to build it up. You continue to make connections. You continue to educate the marketplace and all of those things. That's we're on 8 years, 9 years in business now. Is that right?
Something like that.
So
it's scary doing the math.
I always have to think, I'm like, it's been a little while. But so, where are you at today, and kind of what's the future of the business? Where are you taking it? Where are you heading? And is it one that has, been on autopilot and you build the customer base and now it's a great product and just continue to sell it? Are you continuing to build it, or kind of where are you at today and where are you taking it?
So awesome questions. I think we just skipped some of the most craziest stories. That the last 9 years has been insane. We're a bootstrap company. We're a small team, but it's not a linear from there to here. And hopefully some companies can just kind of do it, but ours has been all over the place. We've had some major trials and tribulations. We've had some incidences where lost 50% of revenue in a matter of months. In fact, we've had nearly 3 in particular, 4 close, where it's been just like, oh no, the floor, the industry, the model has completely shifted. So yeah, it's I can get to this.
Maybe just dive before we do we'll go look at the future. What are some of those Because problem is with most business, you always hear the highlight reel, right? You get to hear what are the great things, the successful things, that everything was one perfect and it was an overnight success. And it's usually, to your point, it's never that way. And there's always those bumps and, things that change and you have to pivot and market changes and customers change. So what were some of those, you mentioned 50, without rehearsing every story in the last 8 or 9 years, what were some of the things that do stick out or be that are more memorable, of things that you had to learn along the way or adjust for, or otherwise take into consideration?
For sure. And this, if I'm reading the future right, you're going to ask me about some of the worst business decisions I've ever made.
That is always one of the last questions on the podcast, so don't give that away yet, but maybe
Okay.
some of the other decisions that you made.
Sure. So we were subject matter experts. Again, written this book, spent time in the trenches at Apple. I knew the Apple affiliate program, iTunes affiliate program, incredibly well. Having used Amazon's affiliate program as well, also knew that space incredibly well. So we
Mm,
were really focused on those two affiliate programs, and because we were experts there, we were using those programs as our revenue models.
mm,
So Apple. A little bit after I left, made the very smart decision to consolidate all the different affiliate programs into one technology provider. And when
mm,
they did that, they solved one of the two problems that we were solving with the technology. As a result, a couple of our biggest clients no longer need us to solve that problem. So again, saw that revenue just disappear super quickly. Um,
mm,
Amazon. Amazon's just been a crazy ecosystem to be part of. Obviously, they continue to grow like
mm.
crazy. They continue to expand and innovate. It's a very dynamic company. We're based in Seattle. Most everyone I know is at least 1 degree separation from Amazon. It's yeah, Amazon owns Seattle these days. It seems like Microsoft is owns the outskirt and Boeing is giving it all up. But Amazon had some hard lessons there as well. And in particular, um, we're no matter how big we are, we're just a small fish. And that was kind of that was a hard lesson to learn. From the rafting guide days, I'd learned a couple times that ego is often your downfall. And a lot of raft guides have a lot of ego, and for good reason. But the moment you get on that river, you're no better or worse than anyone else out there, and you can get
Mm,
spanked for anything. So it was a bit of a lesson, again, seeing that in the corporate world as well, is that you got to check your ego.
mm.
So that was yeah, when we play in Amazon's ecosystem, we may be, have grown to be relatively big fish, but we're no better, no different than anyone else. And that's good. It's humbling. But because of that, we've put eggs in different baskets, or I guess are not putting eggs in enough different baskets, and have seen some downfalls from that. Yeah, different
And I
policy
think that's
changes.
I think that's, we won't get into necessarily the worst decision yet. I mean, that's one that anytime you put, you hit your wagon, so to speak, with a given business or given business model, right? And it could be the iTunes or the Amazon or whichever with affiliate links. And then they can change their business model. They can change how they do things in a minute, and it can have a drastic effects on your business. And it's kind of almost, taking it out to the tangible world. Phone cases are one that's incredibly in a competitive market. And the reason being is you have a phone case for a specific size of phone. And if they change that size of the phone, you're left with all the old inventory. You're left with trying to sell it to the old phones, and you have to make the new case and the new inventory. And I think there's, overlays with that of, if they change their business model, how, and even easier, change the software on the back end, or they want to
Mhm.
boot you out, or they don't want to let it, they can change how they're doing it, and it can make life difficult. So it sounds like, there are a few times that you went through that or had to figure out how to adjust with their business models that adjusted.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. It's I always say they cough and you catch a cold, catch pneumonia, right? It's a
Mm.
little ripple here, but it's a massive wave when it hits you.
And
Those
that can
are
also be, not to dive in, I think it can be one that's hard for your customers, because they're saying, I just want a product that work. Why does it continue to change, or why does it not work like it used to? What's taking the delay? And, just go back to how it was, and you have to explain to them that it's not that simple, that when they make a change, we have to make a much bigger change.
exactly. So, to now go back to your earlier question, we have a full team continuing to innovate because the industry continues to change. We it's a just as much of a full-time gig now as it was, 7, 8, 9 years ago.
Mm,
We've gotten, hopefully, knock on wood, smarter about how to make decisions and the direction that we're taking it, the company, how we're working with our clients, et cetera. But it's Yeah, just as busy, just as exciting, more exciting now. There's a lot more on the line. I got a
Hmm.
whole family to support, and teams, families to support. But yeah, it's there's no taking the foot off the gas pedal.
And yeah, it's a much different dynamic when it's just you and you're working, and it's like, well, if it doesn't work out, I can figure something out. I don't have anybody else to worry about myself. But it is a much different dynamic when you grow the business. On the one sense, it can be more lucrative, and have a better, more stability, and it can be beneficial. On the other hand, you're saying now I've got to worry about other people, not just myself, and it does always take on a bit of that different dynamic.
Exactly. Which is
So
fun. It's the only constant is change, right? It would get boring if it was the same thing.
that's a fair. I think it's a very fair statement. So, well, as we do now look to wrap up the podcast. So you touched on it earlier, but we'll hit the last two questions I always ask, which are, first one is along your journey, what was your worst business decision, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah. So platform risk, putting all your eggs in a basket. There's such a you got to know at the point where that's not smart, right? You can innovate a lot faster when you're super focused. 100% agree with that. Startup founders focus on one problem, run with it. But at a certain point, you run into this, especially for us, this issue where that ecosystem that you're working in, it evolves, it changes. Just we're talking about. If you're not ready for that, you can be in big trouble. We were not ready for multiple of those changes, and we were in big trouble. Thankfully, we have got a great team and great clients to kind of work ourselves through that. But
Mm,
just that reliance on Amazon, that putting all those eggs in that basket, at a certain point no longer made sense. So um, I wish I'd seen the bigger picture sooner. I wish I'd been more brave to stop building micro little features to more make that the tool more powerful in that ecosystem, and just kind of again seeing the bigger picture of where this could go. And I'd like to think I'm getting better at that with with lots of help from my team and from executive coaches, etc. But it's important you see a vision that is not so pigeonholed and not so reliant on just a single partner, that again that
mm.
partner can change on a whim.
And what's interesting is, and you hit on it, is I had another person on the podcast that was completely different industry, and they were for batteries for drones, and it started out as a hobby, and they ended up building it. But at the same token, they almost had the same experience of, they went through and they built really cool features and lots of things for these batteries for really the most popular drones, and then the drone manufacturer changed the battery, changed the whole new came out with a new drone, different or configuration, different system, and all this time and effort they put into making that drone battery system went up in smoke, and they had to step back a lot, like you did, and said, okay, we can't be so dependent on one given model that if they change it, that we're we lose all of our revenue. And so it's just interesting how different different industries, different products, and everything else, and yet the lessons that we learn as entrepreneurs have so many times are the same lessons, even though everybody's journey is different. So now we're going to jump to the second question I always ask, which is, so if you're now talking to someone that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
So great question. I had to ask my team about this. There was a couple of them we boiled it down to, and I think that the best piece of advice is around time. Time can either be time is a constant, right? You can't mess with time. Leave it to Elon Musk and Bezos to mess with space, but you still no one can really mess with time.
Till you change the laws of physics, we're stuck with it.
Exactly. Which I won't hold my breath, but maybe in our lifetimes. And with time is, again, it's for you or against you. When you're first starting out, it's really important that you don't have time being against you. And the thought is, as a side hustle, nights and weekends, you have a salary, you have your health insurance being taken care of you. But as soon as you leave your job to focus on this hustle, and that hustle isn't to the point where it's actually paying your salary or paying for what you need, then time becomes against you, right? So
Mm,
really, really be smart about when you make that decision to go full time with a project, how you want to approach it. Money stress is one of the worst stresses in the world. And it really sucks when you have to be innovating and building a company. And this whole money stress thing is just not only from the company side, but also from a personal side as well, especially, when you have a family, you're not, as, adaptable as you were previously. So yeah,
No, and I
really.
think sometimes, to your point, money stress can make you make stupid decisions, right? In the sense that you have a great opportunity, or you have something that really you should be doing, but because you're worried about either the quick dollar, the quick buck, or getting something out there, or anything else, and you're making decisions that had you planned better, had you had savings aside, or had you had that roadmap or bandwidth to breathe, you probably wouldn't have made those decisions. So I like that, because I think that's one where too often when you get in a situation where money is the only driver of the business, or you're making decisions based on what's a quick buck, it can make you make stupid decisions.
So true. So true. You've talked to a few entrepreneurs in your day.
I talked to a few entrepreneurs. I've been through it myself, and I certainly know where you're coming from. So now as we do wrap up, and I said always have more things to talk on than I wish wish we had more time, but keeping it to the normal time frame for people that want to get out with the rest of the day, so to speak. If people want to reach out to, they want to use your product, they want to be a customer, they want to be an investor, they want to be an employee, they want to be a part of this, or they just want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to connect up, find out more, and reach out to you?
Yeah. So LinkedIn is probably my favorite social media way to go. Twitter's another good one, but yeah, as long as you don't tell the spammers, it's geni.us. JL@genius is the email. Reach out directly to me there.
All right, perfect. Well, I certainly encourage not the spammers, but for everybody else to reach out to you, use your product if it fits with what they're doing, find out more, and definitely something to support. Well, awesome. Jesse, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of the listeners out there, if you have your own journey to tell, feel free to apply to be a guest on the podcast. Just go to inventiveguest.com. If you're a listener, also make sure to click subscribe so you can get notifications as all our awesome episodes come out. And please leave us a review so other people can find us as well. Last but not least, if you ever need help with patents or trademarks or anything else, feel free to reach out to us at Miller IP Law. We're always here to help. Just go to strategymeeting.com. Thank you again, Jesse. It's been a pleasure, and good luck, or wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much, Devin. It's been an absolute pleasure.